Good morning. Good morning. Coding on a Sunday. It's not supposed to code on a Sunday, but I want to get this finished. And I'm sick, honestly. I'm still really sick, so like I don't feel like doing anything physical. This is like day number 3 of this sinus cold. It's pretty miserable. Last night wasn't as bad, thankfully. The first night, like I literally couldn't even sleep half the night because it was just, my head felt like it was gonna pop. It's getting a little better, but still, I would say like it's probably halfway over. Some of it came up this morning, so once it starts coming up, you know, that's when you start feeling better. But all right, let's set our timer. God, I can feel my eyes like getting itchy. I just took a little bit more medicine, so it's gonna take a little while to kick in. Try not to overdo it though, you know, with medication, any medication, just in general. So, okay, what did we do? Not yesterday. It's actually 3 days ago. So wait, that was Thursday. 25th, 26th. Yeah, that was Thursday, I think. And we did our first pass brainstorm for save load solution for client Pi main while loop. Consulted with ChatGPT and generated some skeleton code to use in the final form of the system. Created the restore data reconnect function in save logic, which holds the brainstorm and associated skeleton code. Stopped at line 153 in save logic. Stage committed, push change to remote rebuild, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we stopped at line 153 in save logic. Let's go over there. And I remember. Fucking shit is. It's hitting me, man. The cold. I'll be alright. Next, continue refining a main while loop save checkpoint via usage of globals to save load data. See below. A list of every single object that could be saved via the main while loop run through. So we have a master object name list. But I'm like, I don't think we need that. Do we? I don't know if we need that. We might not need that list. Like, we might just be able to go straight off of globals without using any other thing. So let's look at the sample function for loading in data from the database generated by ChatGPT. We have def load state. It takes target globals and it's a dict type. The database path is equal to client save database with SQLite3 connect. DB path as con c equals con cursor for name blob in c.execute select object name value from state. I like how it did that, short and sweet. That's good. It gets the object by deserializing it, and then it assigns it directly assigns this global variable using the target global dictionary at the key associated with the name, which is a string, and you assign the associated value to that namespace, the object, the deserialized object. So then you call that function with load state, passing in globals. And that is actually a very solid solution. It's really good, actually. I don't think I could do better than that. And I think we're going to try it because we determined that globals does like include changes that are made to, say, if you import like the player object, like P1 and P2, any attributes associated with that object, like the hand or the melds or whatever, that gets saved. Like that is accessed as part of the global namespace, whatever, like variable. It's part of that list, and yeah, so it's basically like a one and done type thing. It would just save everything. I think, based on like my understanding of it, and my understanding is that if it exists in the client, then basically globals will save it, unless it's like a local variable or whatever, which, I mean, locals, I'm not really worried about that, because that's like locals are locally defined or whatever usually anyway, right? So I don't think that that's gonna, I don't think that would cause a problem. Now, this is gonna cover a lot of like ground, so I don't know how well it's gonna work, but theoretically, you know, in my little brainstorm experiment, I think it should work pretty good. So we're gonna try it and see, just because honestly it's such an easy solution. It seems like a no-brainer. So let's go ahead and look at the go ahead and look at this next function we have here, which is called a sample function for saving data to database generated by ChatGPT. This method uses globals, probably the preferred option. So we have SQLite 3 pickle types, save globals to database, passing in the DB path equal to globals save.db. So this is just something that ChatGPT made. So the DB path, in our case, would be, well, I don't know. What would we use, actually, for this? The DB path would be different. Well, this would be like at a checkpoint. We would call this function. This would basically be our save checkpoint function, where well, so I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, well, this function saves basically everything except for dunder, which we do that because we want to only save like certain things. For name, val, and globals type, globals.items, if name starts with dunder, we continue, basically we skip it. If is instance val types.function type module skips functions classes. Oh, so it's passing various object types. So if the val is an instance of dot function type or type, that means it's a class, because classes are type objects. And then module, it will skip over that. I don't think we would want it to skip modules, though. Because when we would import P1, or P2, isn't that a module? So let's go ahead and copy this. I'm going to ask ChatGPT about this, but there you go. So saving global state, create blah, 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 blah. So this skips functions, classes, and modules. So that's why it's is instance takes object and then class or tuple. So it's val, and then the tuple is a list of, or it's a tuple of types that we don't want, well, that we are like identifying with. So it's function type, and then module. But I don't necessarily think we want to avoid modules. Let's see. Why would we skip modules if we do that? Wouldn't we not be saving things associated with P1 since we imported P1 as a module layer? This is an awesome deep question. You're really thinking like a Python engine now. Let's go carefully through it. What actually happens in your case? When you do from player import P1, P2 player, you're not importing the whole player module. You're importing individual objects, P1, P2, and player from the player module. Meaning P1 is now a player object, an instance of the player class. P2 is also a player object. Player is the class itself. P1 is not a module. P2 is not a module. Only the object player would be a module. So if you said import player. But like, don't we do that sometimes? We skip modules like math OSIS because they haven't contained massive amounts of internal data. They are not serializable with Pickle by default. They are better re-imported rather than saved loaded. It prevents broken or bloated save files. Example of what a real module is. Import math, print type math, class module. Trying to pickle dumps math will fail. It's just not meant for saving. Import types, import math from player, import P1. P1 is an object. Oh, so types.module type. So is the proper syntax types dot module type or the previously used, what is it? So here it just says straight up module. I understand. I get it. Okay. Aren't Pygame objects aka they aka if P1 had an adder that was a Pygame object trying to serialize that object would fail. Yes, you're absolutely right, and this is a critical thing to think about for your system. Pickle can only serialize basic types, lists, sticks, number strings, custom classes that don't reference system-level resources. But Pygame objects like surface, rect, font, internally used C structures, SDL objects, I don't even know what that is, and open system resources like GPU textures, Windows, hardware handles, those can't be pickled directly. If P1 has a Pygame surface or similar attached, the pickle dumps will fail with an exception. Gotcha. When you're saving objects like P1, you must skip or handle non-serializable attributes. Skip attributes that are known to be non-serializable, like any Pygame object. Remove Pygame objects before saving. Then reinitialize them after loading. Remove Pygame objects before saving them. Then reinitialize them after loading. Custom save method inside player class. Def get state, set state, very clean. Get state, set state. Python allows custom control over how objects are pickled. State equals self underdict copy. If sprite in state, delete state sprite. Return state. Def set state. Update state. Restore sprite manually if needed. Or none if you want to delay. Now when you pickle the player, it excludes the sprite or other Pygame stuff automatically. Okay, now that is not a good thing because you're deleting the actual... Like, does not mean you're actually deleting the object itself. If you don't want to hard-code attribute names, you can dynamically filter attributes by type. Get state, state, for KV and self-dict items, try pickle dumps V, state K equals V. For KV in self-dict items, try pickle dumps V. State at K equals V. Okay, except pickling error, type error, skipping unserializable adder. This way, anything that's not serializable just quietly gets skipped during save. So there's nothing wrong with that. So here's what I'm thinking though. If I know, like with cards, I'm not gonna lie, I do like the idea of using the globals. But now that I'm thinking about this, I'm like, well, I want to say there's some things like with the card objects to where we can't serialize. I don't think we can serialize the card objects. I think I remember this was a long time ago when I was trying to like first do data transfer with the online system, and we couldn't serialize these objects, the cards that is. So I actually had to end up creating a skeleton form of the card objects. God, my eyes are so red from this, from the allergies, or whatever it is. This sinus cold. Who cares? So yeah, we had to create a skeleton format for the cards. And basically what we ended up transferring was just like a list of integers that represented each card, like the card ID. Not only is it serializable in that form, but it's just super fast to transfer it because it's just a very small data set. So like instead of transferring entire objects, we're basically just transferring like an ID that represents that object. And since the other side already has that object, you know, we're just passing that reference, and then on the client side, they're transferring that object to wherever it needs to go, wherever it's been moved to, whatever card group or whatever. So I want to say, and I know with like game, like P1 game and P2 game, they are full of Pygame objects and stuff. And I know that we can basically skip. We could just use like a function like this to skip those things. But, and that is easy. But if I'm honest, I know that this would be a very wasteful process. Simply because I know how much data gets like skipped, and it's gonna be a lot. Like realistically, we don't need to save a lot of things. Most things are derivative of another thing. Like basically, for instance, if you have the cards XY coordinate, just those two integers, you can end up assigning all these other data points based off of that. I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's see. Now, I don't want to just not use the globals method. It would be nice because it seems so easy, but if you see all these attributes here, see all these non-transferred attributes, all this stuff would get saved. All this stuff. And we just don't need to save all this stuff. At least I don't think we do. But I don't want to be an idiot. And, you know, maybe we do. Maybe we do need some of these things. I don't see us needing to save certain of these objects. Well, because they're like, they never change. They're static. Like the background color is always going to be the background color, and that is technically already saved within the client file itself, right? So it's not something that's a variable. The things that we need to save are variables, things that change, things that can't just be automatically determined by cranking up the client script again after you crashed. So like all this stuff right here that would get saved or at least passed over if it was like a Pygame object, and you can see all these that are prefixed with py, those are Pygame objects. There's a lot of them. Using this globals function, it would just have to go through this super long list, and it would work, like, probably. But we're just don't think we need it, you know? And I could maybe go so far as to say that if it's something that we don't transfer, like if it's not in this transferred list, then that means we probably don't need to save it because it's most likely derivative. I thought I had a list. Well, I didn't add it in my list here of attributes, but I wanted to say that pretty much if it wasn't transferred, that means it's either a static variable or it's derivative, meaning that we don't actually need to transfer that object, we just need to transfer like this one, and based off of whatever this is, it ends up calculating whatever, you know, this is. Just as an example, this is not really associated, those two objects, but the concept is, you know, true. And I say this to point out the fact that I don't think it would be so hard to just create a list of objects that need to be saved and simply iterate through that list. And so here's what I'm thinking. If we did that way, if we did it like that, if we created a list of things that need to be saved, that means we would basically have to go file through file, which is not so much. It's a little bit of work, but it's not a lot. We have to go through card, you know, change attribute lists, etc., and find everything that needs to be saved. And then add that to the list. Basically, we just add them as a string, each object's namespace, and then we could use globals to like grab all that data. We wouldn't have to like filter through it, but globals returns a dictionary with all the objects in it, and since it's a dictionary, it's not something that we would have to sift through. We could use the key to directly access it, so the performance would be very good. And we would basically just grab that data. Like, let's just say we want to save P1 name. So then whenever we hit a save checkpoint, we could summon all of the data using the globals keyword. That would load in that dictionary. And then we would use that list. We just call it like the save objects list. We would begin iterating through that list, and we would grab each associated item from the globals dictionary using that master list, the object list. And that would, you know, that would be an easy way to grab all that stuff without explicitly writing it out. Otherwise, we would have to say like save p1.name, and then we would have to say save p2.name and save this next object, and then save this next object. It would just be a lot to write out, and it just makes more sense to use that dictionary, the globals, to access it, and then we would save it. And not only that, but we could use that method to save only the skeleton version of like card groups instead of the entire object, because I don't think we could save the actual object because of the fact that that cards cannot be serialized because they're Pygame objects. They have attributes that are Pygame objects. Not to mention there's just a lot of data associated with those cards that we would need to save. So it would just be a waste of like computational power. It would not be optimal. So I think we need to do it that way. And then, so basically that would just be like a few lines. It would just be import the globals dict, iterate through the master object list, and grab that associated value from the globals dictionary and write it to the database to save it. And that data would be current, obviously, because that's what globals is. Globals just references the, whatever data is in memory associated with that object's namespace. So if it's P1 name, it would be whatever P1 name is currently set to. And yeah, basically like the same thing we could do for loading data. Well, with loading data, we would have it saved to the database, and since only the things that we needed were saved to the database, we could literally just load in every object from the database, and we would assign it using the globals keyword, because the globals allows us to pass in a string, and the string is then translated into an actual object namespace, which is not a string anymore. It's just, the namespace that refers to this object, this data now. Yeah, so I think that's actually going to be the best system to use. Let me write this down first. So I'm going to put so we are going to have a list of everything that could be saved. No, not that could be saved, but that needs to be saved. Master object name list, blah blah blah. Gotcha. Iterate through each object name in the database. No. So we need to change this. I'll just completely delete this, and we're gonna have this be different. So let's say we have two different sections. We have saving, and then we have loading. So for saving, we would do at checkpoint, like at save checkpoint, we would load all data in, or load in all live data / current data using .globals. We would then load all live currently using globals. Next, we would iterate through master object list. grab each data point from the globals dict, saving it to database. It's that simple. That's easy, dude. That's so easy. And then for loading, we would, upon reconnect, oh, we need to write that. We would just say load in all objects from the database since only required objects were saved, and then we would learn all objects from the database since only required objects were saved. Correct. Then we would assign each object using .globals, passing in the string from the object name column from the DB as the key, and the value column data as the associated value. And that's it. That is so simple. It's really good, actually. I can't believe it could be that simple, but I think it is. So what we need to do, oh, there's a banger. There it is. Yeah. It's bringing back memories. All right. I feel like dog shit, dude. I feel terrible. This medicine I just have to take so much of it for it to work. I feel like I take more and it's just like it's not working. And then eventually I just feel like I don't feel like shit anymore once I've taken a certain amount. I don't feel great. The medicine makes me feel kind of drunk, but whoa, I went big and posted all caps, and then ChatGPT increased its font size. That's crazy. Like, did ChatGPT mirror my energy? Look at this. It made the bigger font. As I did. That's funny. Alright. See, this is perfect. This is a super clean summary of your save load plan. Does translate what you run to a real working structure using globals in a database. Snapshot all live objects using globals. Use a master object list, a list of names you know you want to save. Look up each object by name inside a global. Serialize and save it to the database. Object name value. That's it, exactly. Oh yeah, and we could put a warning if the name is not in globals. That's a good idea too. And then yeah, if we couldn't pickle it, but I know we would be able to, but we could do the try except maybe. And then we would just auto commit, so we don't have to do that. Read all saved rows from the database. Deserialize, pickle loads the blobs back in objects assigned into globals dynamically using the object name string as the key. Only saving master object list avoids clutter and unwanted stuff like modules, temp errors. Saving object names separately from value, easy dynamic assignment. Using globals adds save and load time. Directly assigns the object by name. using globals at save and load time. Directly assigns the object by name without messy manual code. Not catching serialization keeps the save process safe and clean. So my question here is, should I just load in everything from globals when I do save? Or well, I mean, I don't think we necessarily quote unquote load in globals. It's already like loaded in. We're just accessing it. It already is there. So yeah, there's actually no computational time associated with that. So this is perfect. If you want even more safety, you could auto-detect bad objects during saving. Tropical dumps object at 7 seconds, skipping non-serializable objects. Or log which objects failed, saving and skip gracefully. Yes, your thing is one this method will rebuild all your critical runtime objects exactly like they were at save time. It even tracks version numbers or timestamps for save files automatically inside SQLite. I know you want to show me the work, dude, I know, but I'm going to go ahead and pass on that. So what I will do is I will copy this. We're going to overwrite basically. We're going to not sequence for name blob and cxq object equals pickle loads blob target global's name load state. Wait a second. Okay, so this would load everything from globals. Yeah, so this would basically be modified. We would have load state, which would take the because it's got to connect to the DB path. C count cursor for name blob, and C execute select object name value from state. Okay, and the object equals pickle loads blobs. So we're gonna modify this. Instead of taking in the target globals dictionary, we're just gonna have we don't even need that. We would say with SQLite 3 connect, and this would be self dot, and this needs to take in self because it's going to be a method. So SQLite connect self dot well, which database would we load from? We would have to determine which one was saved first. So we would need to check the timestamp last saved for stable DB and backup DB. This code's killing me, bro, I swear. So I save for stable DB and backup DB to see which we want to load from. Fuck, man. SQLite 3 connect. And then so basically DB would be whichever had the latest timestamp. So then we would do SQLite connect to the database as con equals current cursor for name Bob and 6 use like object value from in the table would be called save data. Then object would be people loads blob, and then we would just do how do we do that? We just say globals at name. So we could say globals at name equals object. And then, yeah, that's calling the function. So we need to actually call that function. And there you go. That would load in our data. Boom. And would it need to be done in a particular order? I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't think so. And then we have some functions for loading in data. We get rid of this. We have some functions for saving data. Next we have load state check times blah, 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 blah. Yeah, sample function for saving data to be generated by ChatGPT. We'll use globals. Okay, so for saving, we're gonna do select typical types def save globals to database. And we can just change this to be called save state instead. Does that make sense? Lobbying squiggle domes. Globals add object name. And I'm just gonna put below line. Unsure if this would work with skeletonized objects. Since I'm not sure they exist as globals or adders, aka would be accessible via globals. So Bob equals pickledoms globals add name. And then replace into instead of name values name blob, and this would be save data. Okay, and then commit we don't even need because we use auto commit. We don't need types. We don't even need this line at all. This is a first pass save state. Okay, so now we need to create a list of overall outline for save load system using a simplified process. And then we have whoa, 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 whoa. Who killed the music, dude? The fuck? There we go. Oh, no. Oh, God. Ah. Oh, God, man. I don't want to take more medicine. I've already taken a lot, but it's just not working. It's not working, dude. Need some water. I'm dying over here, okay? Dying over here, my dude. Been thinking about getting braces. My teeth are kind of fucked up. Thinking about it. I don't know. I got good insurance, so I could get it. But it's want to be brace face for like a year or whatever. I know it takes a long time, and they say sometimes they go back to how they were. I don't know. They're not that jacked up, but they ain't perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got the insurance. Might as well. We'll see. Alright, so for path and self-data stable path, and then we have self-save data stable backup path. DB whichever had the last timestamp. I think we would do with SQLite, we need to pass in the path here, right? So we would say path, right? So for path. And why does it show this as white? Oh, it's because I see. So restore data reconnect function. Okay, so we're kind of modifying more than just that. So let's. Why is this? This is at the wrong. Oh no, it's not. I'm tripping. This needs to be up here, and we're actually going to basically just get rid of this function, I think. And we would instead, trying to think how to structure this properly. Alright, now we're going to put this inside of the go up here, and this is going to be like this. Self dot master saved objects list. So we just call it master save objects object list. Master save. I like that better. Master save object list. I like this music. It's good. Isn't it? Isn't it? It's great. Path in we don't use double quotes around here, dude. Okay? Let's take value from save data where object name is equal to this, and then what? Object name is equal to timestamp last save. Correct. Okay. So select value from save data where object name is equal to placeholder timestamp last saved. I think there's something wrong with this, but I don't know. And then we need to say x is equal to 0 times and x is equal to 0, stable timestamp last save is equal to c dot fetch 1. C dot fetch 1, right? And index 0. Yeah. Should be. Yeah, we executed the selection. Select value from save data where object name is equal to timestamp last save. If x is equal to 0. It's going to be stable timestamp last save is equal to c dot fetch 1. Oh, we got to deserialize it. Ooh, almost got me, didn't you? Ooh, no, almost. You need to do pickle dumps. Or no, pickle loads. So we just do this in one line. You can say pickle loads. Hold on. Like that. Pickle loads C fetch 1. I think. Yeah. I don't know why, but I think there's something wrong with that too. It should be serialized though, so it does have to be loaded with pickle loads, and then we just say timestamp last save equal to that. And then we would say else, which is basically saying elif index is equal to 1. Then this would be back up timestamp last saved. And then then we have to do 2 for loops. Okay, and then we say if, alright, can we just do greater? I'm an idiot. Well, no, Python, what is the function for finding the greater between 2 values? Max? Okay, so max. Greater equals max. That's fine. Also a min, if you want the smaller one. So we want the later one, which is the greater one. So that would be max. We would say if max of, and then we just pass in the two values, right? Yeah. So that would be this one, and then that one. Boom. Booyah. If whichever the max is equal to save, then I would do it differently. Do you understand do you understand? Let's see. Let's see if you do. For path and self day, Seacon cursor. Wait a second. Hold up. If index equals 0, C equals con cursor. No. What the f did I do? Oops. We'll say stable cursor. I would do things a little differently if you seriously. And now I just have to do backup. Okay, let's review. Index equals 0 for path in self save data stable path, self save data stable backup path. If index is equal to 0, stable con equals SQLite connect path. Stable cursor equals stable con cursor. Stable cursor executes select value from saved data where object name is equal to timestamp last saved. Stable timestamp last saved equals pickle loads. Let's see, let me change. Stable cursor, fetch one at index 0. Okay. Else, if index is equal to 1, back up con equals SQLite 3 connect path. Backup cursor equals backup con cursor. Backup cursor executes select value from saved data where object name is equal to timestamp last saved. Backup timestamp last saved equals pickle loads. Backup cursor, fetch one at index 0, and then index plus equals 1. So for the second iteration, index would equal 0, so it would go here. For a path, it would start here because index would be 0, and then it would run the L. Then it would go to increment index. Then second iteration, it would do else, and I think that's good. Backup con, backup cursor. Yeah. Stable con, stable cursor, stable cursor, stable cursor. So then we would say if max stable timestamp last saved backup timestamp last saved is equal to stable timestamp last saved path equals self save data stable path, and then else, which is basically saying which is basically the same as saying elif max is equal to backup timestamp last saved then path would be equal to self dot save data stable backup path. And then we would say for name blob then we would close the other connection. This makes sense, dude. Oh, that's not what we want. We want the cursor. What do you say? Other con. Close the other one. Yeah. You already know. You already know, dude. We don't even need to do that. That's dumb. I'm an idiot. Let's get rid of this. Yes. Watch this magic, dude. Look at this shit. Watch this. Oh, they like that. What else? Okay. Now we need to for name Bob and con execute. Fuck. It doesn't matter. It's my jam, dude. Right there. Okay. Now, for name blob in do we need con? No, we use cursor execute, doofus. So we say cursor equals stable cursor. And then here we'll say else cursor equals backup cursor. Yeah, feel? Does it make sense? Yes? No? Do we even need the other path then? Yeah, we don't, because we already have the connection, right? So we don't need the path. Does it make sense? So then we say for in cursor execute. Select object value from save data. Would we need to load in data points in a particular order? And then we say globals and name equals object. Damn, bro. I got good at this shit, huh? Oh, wait. No. For name blob and cursor execute. Object name. Say object name. Say object value. Object value. Damn, I'm good, dude. Hopefully this gets used. This is the end, you heard him? He said, God, this fucking sinus cold is just killing me softly, dude. Jesus Christ. Fuck. Seek like connect. Erase path this connection. Like reconnect the database path. Well, this one we would use our. I don't know if we need this one. So we have our stable save state function. I don't think we need this one. I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. $198. Let's go over here. Shit. Don't lie, dude. Don't fucking lie to me. That was good. We are on the root project directory. Git branch. We're on the feature branch. Git add. Git commit. Bam. Successfully committed. Get push. Do that shit, cuh. Do that shit, cuh. Alright, there we go. Now get it out of here. See ya. Alright. You already know the answer to that question, dude. Let's go. Let's get this shit out of here, bro. Get it out of here. Get it out. Let's look at the devlog. That's right. We did that shit. We did that shit. Alright. We're done. Okay? So, today is Sunday. I'm not doing no more work. I don't feel good. I didn't feel like doing this. I did it. So I'm going to go ahead and go eat. And I'm going to relax. Take some more medicine. And I don't know, maybe play a game or something. Watch a movie. Relax. So we made good progress. I'm happy. It's really easy. It's looking really simple. Way easier than I thought it was going to be. Which is such a relief. Man. And so, yeah, we're going to pick up tomorrow. Hopefully, unless something comes up. And continue, you know. Keep chipping away at it. And we can do some testing. See if it actually works. Debug it. Figure out like what we're gonna use, what we're gonna get rid of as far as whichever functions that we created, and do some more testing. Try to do, and then we're gonna try to get the client file back in a working state so that we can test directly inside the game and not just like an isolated test environment. Yeah, and then like, dude, then we're done. This is actually it. Like after we finish this, we're done. We're done with it. I mean, other than the other tasks on my list, like, but as far as the save system, this checkpoint system, we've been working on this for a while now. I would say a couple months. It's been at least a month, probably more than. It's probably closer to 2 months, and it's finally basically over with. So we're gonna be moving on. I thought it was gonna be way harder than this, and it turns out it wasn't so hard after all. So very cool. Knock on wood. I don't know for sure, but we'll see. All right.